So why are some spiritual experiences not proven by science and not studied, and there's no research to show that they exist? This is a question I get all the time, especially relating to astral projection, but not just that. People ask this about pretty much anything, and there's a reason for that. We've been programmed to believe, mainly through the education system, but also through the media, we've been programmed to believe that if we can't prove something in a lab, and if the vast majority of the world don't believe it, it's not real and it doesn't exist. This is a fundamental error in the judgment and in awareness. That's just so far the wrong way of looking at things that it's unbelievable. It leaves me speechless. So not only is science constantly playing catch up to what we know from our day-to-day experience, but we also don't really know the nature of reality. At least we can't prove the nature of reality through science. And I'll explain what I mean by that. We have always had what we call a revolving conveyor belt of theories. That's all science really is. It's just a bunch of theories, ideas that one man or a group of men or women have put forward that they think explains how things work. All science really is coming up with ideas or theories to explain how we think things work, or how we think things that we observe work. And the key word is observe, and I'll get onto that in a minute. The point is, we don't really know the nature of reality, at least in a scientific sense. So all we can do is just put forward a theory and try and prove it with various different experiments, right? But this has been proven wrong so many times. And throughout history, if you look back at scientific history, you'll find that there'll be an entire model of reality, right? And then the next month or the next year, somebody else would come and put forward a new model of reality that blasts that other one into oblivion. And so you just have this constant series of theories, each one replacing the last. And at each point in time, the scientific community would think that this current theory is the only explanation of reality. This is the truth. This is how things work. And in the next month, a new theory would come along and they would all say, oh, now that one's wrong. Now this is the one. And this has been happening throughout history, throughout time, because science can't really grasp the nature of reality when it tries to explain it in terms of 3D, 5-sense reality. This is a really fundamental thing to realize, because we only see through our 5 senses 0.005% of the information that is out there. And on top of that, our brains, specifically our conscious brains, only take in between 7 and 11 pieces of information per second, compared to the subconscious, which takes in 11 million. So you have this enormous disparity between what we think is happening and what is actually happening. On top of that, we're not even able to fully remove our biases and opinions from the scientific experiments we do run. There will always be some kind of, either, in the case of big pharma and medicine, an enormous financial motive to prove one particular outcome. And this is the case with the vast majority of scientific studies out there. There is a motive, there is a funder, a funding source for the study, and usually the people that fund the study want the study to prove something that will make them money. That is how it's been working for a long time. Because why would they fund it if it didn't make them profits? These are companies, these are for-profit businesses. So there's not been very much motive or reason to fund studies that show something about the nature of reality when it doesn't stand to benefit those companies that are funding the studies. I hope this makes sense. And so that's why there's a huge lack of scientific study on certain areas of spirituality, like astral projection, like whatever it is, the chakra system, energy, prana, whatever concept you want to go into. There's a big gap in the scientific studies because it doesn't stand to benefit the big pharma companies who make money from you being sick. And this is, like I said, not all of the studies, and this is kind of a blanket explanation. It doesn't cover everything, but this is the majority. Then on top of that, you have things like astral projection, things like other dimensions. These concepts, the whole point of these concepts is that we don't understand this reality as much as we think we do. And the concept is that there are other dimensions and realities outside of this one. So if that's the theory of astral projection, the concept, then there is no way that we will be able to study that experience in this reality because it's operating outside of this reality. It would be insane. It would be like fish underwater trying to measure what's happening on the land. They can't do it because they're not in that world. And in the same way, you can't study astral projection, at least you can't easily study it from within this reality, because the whole point of it is to leave this reality and interact in a different dimension. So of course you can't easily study that. And also, like I said, there's not much motive to do that because And I know what some people are going to say, like, okay, well, there would be a financial motive because that would be life-changing and groundbreaking. It depends on what you know and how much research you've done into how the world works currently. Because the big pharma company, and I'm not going to go too much into this, but the big players at the top, let's say, let's call them Mr. Global, they don't want the population to be healthy and powerful. They don't want that, because then they wouldn't be controlled, they wouldn't be able to make as much money from them, and people would be basically going their own. I mean, imagine if tomorrow everybody just started drinking filtered water, walking, taking cold showers, meditating, eating fresh, healthy, plant-based foods. It would put the entire industry out of business because they make money from you being sick. So they have no motive and no reason to let this kind of information get out there. On top of that, they actively try and suppress this information. There's a large history and a whole load of lawsuits because of this. They're trying to suppress certain information. But like I said in a previous video, this is not working anymore because you can't hide the truth from 7 billion people. You can try and you can get away with it for a while, but as more information becomes available and as more and more people start to notice the kind of the gap that's not being filled by scientific explanations, they will just find the information. You know, they'll watch videos like this, they'll research things themselves, they'll go to other search engines, and they'll just find it. So anyway, that's my take on why certain spiritual experiences are not proven by modern day science.